What did I get myself into? So in this video, we will be covering all of these control-oriented mouse pads. These are some of the latest and greatest. Many of them are rarely ever covered, and some of these you might recognize, but you didn't even know that this has released lately, and some of these have been announced ages ago. But today, we're gonna have a look at all of these, and I'm gonna tell you which one that you should get if you're looking for a new control mouse pad. Also, do remember that I also have other videos out on control pads already, so make sure to check these out either up here in the corner or down in the description. So if there's a mouse pad that is very popular that is not covered here yet, I have probably covered it already. But other than that, let's get right into the video. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell right next to it if you want to be reminded of any upcoming further reviews. And as a disclaimer, actually all of these pads were sent out to me. Huge thanks to these guys, and remember that does not affect my opinion on these products whatsoever. Since I'm gonna be covering a shit ton of mouse pads in this video, I will only go over them pretty quickly. I'm not gonna go into the furthest little detail because these are all just mouse pads. There's nothing crazy about any of these mouse pads except for this one, and there really only is that much to a mouse pad. But getting into the boring stuff, these pads are actually all around 490 by 420. They all also come shipped flat. They also all spot a very good stitching that is either equal to the surface height or below the surface height even. So my main focus will be the actual feel of the cloth, what the speed feels like in game, and in terms of pricing for this video, I will let that be up to you because these pads are all priced very similarly. The only one standing out in value being the Infinity Mice Control V2 in my personal opinion. Getting into the Memoria Pro first. This mouse pad is absolutely astonishing in person. I really like the color on this thing. But of course, the color is only one part of the whole story. This was actually the first review unit that I ever asked for and also was agreed on actually receiving. So this actually holds quite a special place in my heart. So as always, we have the usual Poron base. I do not know if it is authentic and I do not care. The stitching looks absolutely insane. And it is also level to surface and it has never ever annoyed me. And in terms of the actual texture, it reminds me a lot of my Artisan Zero in soft, but the give is more easy on this Memoria Pro. When you push into the base of the Memoria Pro with your finger, you are touching the surface of your desk pretty darn quickly. So despite it being around 3.5 millimeters in thickness, this definitely does not feel firm. The overall gliding experience is definitely a bit more on the faster end of the control spectrum. Comparing it directly to my Artisan Zero, it does feel very similar in overall speed. So I actually would call this an American Artisan Zero. However, the base I just simply do not like for whatever reason. It's just something that is putting me off with it being this thin and like easy give. It sort of reminds me the issue that I had with my EMC. But yeah, if you're looking for a blue Artisan Zero and you don't have an issue with the way that I described this base, just get it. If not, then not. But yeah, this pad is absolutely nothing crazy as like almost every other mouse pad in the whole industry. It just ticks a lot of boxes and it is absolutely on par with the quality with everything else that is insanely high-end in our scene. Talking about ticking a lot of boxes and also being on par with the quality and nothing special, that is the perfect description of this Odin gaming mousepad. I have actually had this for around 2 months already and I kept delaying the review over and over again, mainly because I actually did use this a lot when I first got it. I just couldn't justify doing a video on this mouse pad alone. But basically, the Andromeda Pro is a new version of their old Andromeda, which now also spots a Poron base. At the moment, it only comes in black, and I'm trying my best to convince them to make other colors and designs as well. The stitching is ever so slightly below the surface, and the overall gliding experience is pretty darn balanced. Yet again, it is very much on the upper end of the control mouse pad spectrum, so it is definitely more of a balanced control pad. It really is nothing crazy at all. The base is pretty firm, but I would call it more of an artisan soft actually. There is something to dig into and it is not so soft that you just instantly touch the surface of your desk. So if you just want a no frills balanced control pad that you can't really go wrong with, it's just a very bland pad. It also doesn't have any crazy texture or anything. It is more on the smooth ends of mouse pads. So yeah, nothing crazy, just a really decent pad. Good job, Odin. I love the new CEO. He is one hell of a guy. Donated hella money to charity. Coming from Hookah Heroes over to the new CEO, this is a great change of pace for Odin Gaming, and I really hope that they're gonna do more interesting products in the future, because they definitely have the leads to do so now. Getting into a mousepad that's actually been spoken about quite a bit in our scene is the Perseus from Quawar. Quawar is a mouse company from China that is rarely ever spoken about because they basically do no marketing and they're very new into the scene. And I also do think that they don't really want to be too big yet because they don't really have a perfectly finished product, in my personal opinion. As you can see, the base is a bit flimsy. It also never really lies flat on my desk as any other Quawar pad that I'm gonna show you afterwards. And with all of these Quawar pads, as you can see, I have this issue. The surface definitely creases from the base, and I have spoken to them already about it. And then this creasing just makes it feel like a very, very cheap pad, if you know what I mean. This just simply doesn't match the quality feel that you get in all of the other pads in this video. The surface texture of the base actually looks really sick. The stitching on all of these pads is level to surface, and the base I really do not like. This base feels very different to the PU or Poron implementations in the other pads of this video, in the way that this almost feels like it's using some sort of memory foam. When I push into the pad, there's like basically no rebound. So this makes all of these bases feel a bit muddy. The texture on this mouse pad is very, very smooth. It sort of reminds me of the old Infinity Mice Control V1, but without the fuzziness. But because of the implementation on this base, I simply cannot recommend this pad. Now, I do know I am not including pricing in this video, but no matter the price, I personally would never buy this because there are that many other options that I prefer personally. Since I am kind of hating on this mouse pad, I will give Quawar some feedback. My feedback would be to probably not go for this Poron implementation at all. I would probably go for a PU blend like Infinity Mice is doing with a more firm option, because this has no rebound. And whilst you're going for that PU blend, for example, or something else like an EPDM or whatever, definitely make sure that this creasing does not happen with your surface. Other than that, I also think that the orange is a bit too screamy. It looks a bit too neon, but the whole lineup idea and the branding and also the availability of the SCR based versions, which I sadly haven't tried yet, I really like. Catering to both the budget and also the more premium end of a lineup is an insanely wise choice, and I really hope to check out their SCR implementation under budget-oriented pads once they do a new batch. In overall speed, it also reminds me a lot of the Infinity Mice Control V1. It is definitely a slower control pad, even on my brand new core pads that I have mounted on my HDS Plus here. So if you want a more control-oriented surface and you don't have an issue with the facts that I've stated so far, I can definitely recommend it. If not, then not. Getting into the most unique mousepad that has released last year is the Neutron by Quawar as well. This surface is quite literally the same exact feel as leather Alcantara. If you've ever been inside of a fancy sports car, or if you drive a Volkswagen Passat from 2010, this is exactly what it feels like. And what it feels like to touch is also what it feels like to use with your mouse. It quite literally feels like you're playing on a car seat of a McLaren. It is really slow. This is the mud pad of all mud pads, and that is really all I can say about this pad. Me personally, I cannot use this thing. The only thing I could see me actually benefiting from this mousepad would be static scenarios, and that's it. The Hercules by Quawar is also definitely a mousepad. It is definitely on the slower end of the control spectrum as well, and huge props to them again for trying something very unique, because yet again, this is something unlike anything else on this market. The surface feel is very smooth. It feels like a blend between a very conventional control pad and that leather Alcantara pad that I just showed you. So whilst the surface feels incredibly comfortable, this is still very, very slow. So if you want something that is in between a normal control pad and an absolute mud pad, this is what I would recommend. Yet again, same issues, same base with no rebound. I don't like it. The Aether from Quawar is also definitely a mousepad. It is supposed to be more balanced, and that it actually is, but yet again, as you can see, it kind of sticks. I could see some people actually prefer this as a control pad for tech FPS in terms of the actual surface itself, but yet again, same issues. No rebound. I don't like it. The texture feel of it is very, very smooth, and that is probably the only thing I like about this pad. I really do feel kind of bad for hating on these things, so I really hope that they can take my feedback to heart, improve on their products, and come back in full swing and do a really, really good more affordable oriented mousepad with their SCR base if it actually works well, and if that is something that they're interested in doing with also adjusting their color hues because most of these colors look very mid, or if they even want to do a design, I would actually be pretty hyped to check out something like that because I can see their surfaces working on different bases and different colors or designs. And last but definitely not least, a mousepad that I've already reviewed but want to mention again just because it is that good. The Infinity Mice Control V2 is a mousepad that is super duper smooth, no texture at all. The stitching on my mid copy with the newest batch here is actually level to surface, but as you can see, it is yet again very premium with this insane looking base, the best looking base in the entire industry in my personal opinion. And in terms of the speed, this sort of reminds me of a Saturn, but the experience on this mousepad is insanely unique. And if you can afford this and it is readily available to you, I can definitely recommend checking it out because it is something that I can certainly recommend. Out of all the control pads out there, this is personally my favorite one. When you put no pressure onto the pad, you have this very consistent, more balanced experience, but once you want that control and put more pressure onto the surface itself, you can get quite a bit of control out of it without it feeling inconsistent. I don't know what they did with this surface, but it just fucking works. And compared to almost any other control pad on the market, this is definitely unique. It stands out. Anyway, that's about it for this video already. I simply cannot justify making single videos on mousepads unless it's something very unique. So I will mostly keep doing roundup videos. And when it comes to my personal opinion about all of these mousepads, obviously the Infinity Mice Control V2 is my favorite one. And a close second would actually be the Andromeda Pro by Odin Gaming. I do actually think that it is quite a decent alternative to the Saturn Pro. And I actually prefer it over the normal Saturn Pro mainly because of the firmness of this pad. But that really is about it. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell right next to it if you are at all interested in the enthusiast peripheral scene. Peace out.